everybody. So today I'm doing a book review on a book that I just read that I found very interesting, and I'm going to talk about a couple things, some things I liked, some things I didn't like. Oh, I can't even talk. I haven't been feeling good the past couple of days physically. Like I didn't even go to yoga, so I'm a little off. But I'm going to try and get through this book review. Okay, so this is the book that I just finished reading. It's called Origin of the Soul and the Purpose of Reincarnation with Past Lives of Jesus. So this is by Walter Simcoe. He is a doctor who is now in the field of reincarnation research. He works with a man named Kevin Ryerson, which if you guys have seen, like Oprah's had him on, I believe, and Shirley MacLaine is a big Kevin Ryerson proponent. So you might have seen him around. He's considered the #1 trance medium in the country. And so these two work together on reincarnation research. They do have a website if you're interested. You might have seen me talking about it on my Facebook page. It's called It's www.isis.com. IISI. So things that I did not like about this book. Okay, first of all, I have read some articles that have said that Kevin Ryerson and Walter Simcoe they're kind of part of a conspiracy theory because they keep the celebrities in the celebrity category, they keep the artists in the artist category. You know, it's meant to keep the man down, so to speak. So I've read some of those. I don't know that but he says that up front in the book. He tells you that he is a Catholic, and the book is from the point of view of a Christian, through a Christian lens, and he'd like to go into other faiths and explore reincarnation that way, but that this particular book is Christian overtones. So I didn't really love that about the book, but I'm glad that he said something in the very beginning. Because then if he hadn't said something, I would have read the book being like, what is this guy is only talking about it from one point of view, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, okay, so he tells you that at the beginning. There are some theories in here that, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with. And then there are others that I find very fascinating and that I do agree with. So one of the things they talk about in here, first of all, is the 7 rays. Now, the rays of incarnation are prevalent within astrology and witchcraft and New Age. You know, that's one thing that spreads across different faiths is the rays. And he goes a little bit into how the different rays affect your incarnations. Like, you pretty much come in on the same ray in every lifetime, but the experience would be different depending on your soul's evolution. So I thought that information was very good, and I really liked that section of the book. The next section of the book that I found really interesting was the stages of evolution. There are many theories on this, but these are actually, he puts in here 2 different theories from 2 different individual women about the stages of evolution, both of which had experiences, out-of-body experiences or experiences in the other world, and came back and then told of their what they experienced, what they saw, how it works, things like that. Like I said, I don't know if anything is missing or changed, or if their experiences are genuine, but I will say that their experiences lined up incredibly well, but they weren't exactly the same, but you can see where you can compare and contrast their experiences. But like I said, I wonder if there's some things missing, because each of them says that there's only 7 levels, I guess, of evolution. And I could spend all day going into that topic alone, but I'm not going to do that because that's not the purpose of this video. Okay, so anyways, the next thing I wanted to talk about is a theory where he talks about the fact that our energetic body actually is the blueprint for our physical body. So in a lot of our incarnations, or most of our incarnations, we look very similarly or scarily like people that we have been. And that's because our energetic body projects a hologram pretty much onto our DNA, and that's what forms our facial structure, bone structure, forms the muscles around the bones, and that's how we get our physical bodies. Now, you'll see he goes through and he gives you examples of a lot of historical figures, and they've done a lot of work with these particular historical figures and finding out who they are, which I don't know if the matches are correct. I don't know if I believe that all their matches are correct, but I do believe that this theory about the energetic body being the blueprint for our physical body, I believe that's correct. But the other theory with that goes with that, is basically saying that there's a genealogy to soul reincarnation. So, for instance, you cannot be Jesus and Tom Selleck, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot be reincarnations of both of those men unless Tom Selleck was the reincarnation of Jesus, and then you were the reincarnation of Tom Selleck. So I believe there has to be some type of genealogical line in reincarnation. So like I said, if Tom Selleck was the reincarnation of Jesus and you were the reincarnation of Tom Selleck, that's possible. But if Jesus and Tom Selleck had nothing to do with one another, there's no way you can be reincarnations of both. I do believe that's true. And another thing, you know, that he goes into with this theory is talking about how we tend to carry over certain aspects of ourselves into our new incarnations. We tend to use them again, like artists, actors, things like that. I mean, I do believe that's true, but whether you know, say you're a Hollywood actor and you die and you reincarnate, does that mean you're going to be a Hollywood actor again, or does that mean you're going to be acting in, you know, community plays? Who knows? I don't think that you always carry that talent to the same extreme in one lifetime to the other. I'm trying to think. Oh, yes. Okay. So this is another thing that I've been actually talking to people about, and I've been really pondering on. Okay, so he talks about monads versus souls. So let's say that there is a vine with leaves on it. The vine is the monad that stays in the spiritual world and never incarnates. But the leaves that grow off of the vine, or the souls that come off of the monad, are the incarnations. Now, depending upon how evolved the monad is in the spiritual world, is whether or not it can create two or more incarnated beings at the same time. So potentially, depending upon how evolved your soul is, there could be 2, 3, 4 of you walking around on this planet. In the book, he says that it's pretty rare to have a split incarnation, and that the most splits that are on the earth currently there is a few souls who have 7 different incarnated beings that come from the same monad. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like, God, I don't even know what I would compare it to. I guess you could compare it to, like, if a parent had twins that were still attached to its body. I don't know. I don't even know what to compare that to. But anyways, so but basically it explains the fact that there can be splits within incarnations. It also explains that there can be overlapping which means there's someone still alive who you're a reincarnation of, even though they haven't died yet. And it talks about that. It talks about a lot of different theories, but and it also talks about it is kind of interesting because even though the book is very Christian, it does address animism to an extent. Um, or rather, the spirit guides of Kevin Ryerson explain animism to a certain extent, and I found that interesting. Don't know if I believe in necessarily what he says, but it's very interesting. Kevin Ryerson, the trance medium, his spirit guides are the ones that come through and help the doc, the MD, make these connections and matches and things, and supposedly he has three that help throughout this book. One's name is Atun Ray, who has not been incarnated in 3,000 years and who served as a spirit guide to Jesus. Tom McPherson, who is an Irish pickpocket, who is also one of the higher selves of Ryerson himself. And then John the Apostle, whose real name was Esme, who was the man who actually wrote the book of the Gospel of John in the Bible. Now, I don't know how much of that I believe, but it's pretty interesting when these spirit guides talk, and some of the stories that he tells about the spirit guides noticing things about him when he's not even around. Kevin Ryerson. I mean, the spirit guides telling the MD things that he was doing when he was never even around the trance medium at the time is pretty interesting as well. They talk about the past lives of Jesus somewhat, and I find this very interesting because I don't think I've ever heard anyone address past lives of Jesus. Interestingly enough, Atun Ray says that Jesus had 33 lives and that he was in fact Joseph with the coat of many colors and Joshua in the Bible as well as Jesus. So it's really interesting. It's an interesting book. It's a great different perspective to get, especially when you're into soul origins like I am. I like to get as many perspectives as I can on different things. But like I said, I do recommend this book. However, hold on, I'm going to see if I can get it back up. I do recommend the book. However, I don't recommend anybody read it with, it is the be-all, end-all of reincarnative, or it's not the be-all, end-all of reincarnation theory. The thing about reincarnation is we really don't know. There's no definitive way to tell. So we can only go on what we, past life regression therapy sessions and trance mediums and mediums period, and there's only so many methods we can use, and I know that people say that I intuitively feel like this person, but at the same time then I wonder, there's a whole group of people that feel like they were this person, so how do you really know? And then that opens up a whole nother door of questions like, how do we know that soul doesn't break into fragments, and there's a whole shitload of people with a fragment of this being who, you know what I mean? So I don't know, it's not an exact science, but I do believe that souls have genealogies, and so I don't know, I don't necessarily agree that you can be Tom Selleck and Jesus at the same time, but I guess it all depends on what you believe. I mean, like I said, there's also the theory that we're fragments of many beings, but in that theory, I actually believe that that's true, but we're the fragments of all of our previous incarnations, all stemming from the same being. So if that makes any sense. I don't know if this is even going to make sense, but like I said, I do recommend the book. Oh, and the other thing I didn't like about this book is the author talks a lot about his other books, which was really annoying. So I just fucking skipped over that. But anyways, I do recommend reading this book, but I recommend reading it with a skeptical eye, and be discriminating. I mean, don't believe everything you read, don't believe everything you hear, and always keep an open mind. So yeah, that was Origin of the Soul and the Purpose of Reincarnation with the Past Lives of Jesus by Walter Simcoe. Check it out if you'd like. If this is not something that interests you, then don't read it and just go back to being your awesomely magical self. And I will talk to you guys later. Hope you've enjoyed this video. See ya.